Welcome into the Nickel City Crew. I am your host, Rob Crippen. This episode is presented by Crippen Legacy Entertainment here on StreamYard. And as always, these are my Bills thoughts said out loud. I was struggling a little bit earlier today with today's episode, but I managed to make sure that I wanted to get it out. There were some things that I wanted to say that I thought were very important. First of all, I wanted to say that my thoughts and prayers and condolences are to all of the families that were affected. I think 13 people were shot, 10 killed at the tops on Jefferson Avenue in the heart of Buffalo on Saturday. Senseless murders. A senseless and a gutless person did this, drove 200 miles to the store in the Black community to make sure that he targeted specifically Black folks. So I would be remiss if I didn't start the episode by at least acknowledging the fact that I'm sad, I'm hurt, and I am angry, to be honest. Joining us for tonight's episode, I'm really excited. I met this young man a few weeks ago, about a month ago, and really he's welcomed me with open arms, to be honest with you. I'm really excited about the opportunity on Buffalo FAMBase, Bills Mafia Podcast Network. Joining me, Justus General. What's going on, Justus? How are you, sir?
Man, it's just tough, you know what I mean? But I feel like there's been a really, really large outcry, or not outcry, but pouring of support and people really coming together in a really, really, really devastating time. And it's talk about a silver lining, if I don't even know if you could call it that, but it's tough. I live around the corner, from Tops on Jefferson. Like I walk down Jefferson every day to go to the corner store. My dad grew up right there my dad raised me. Every weekend I was over his house over there on Jefferson, and that was the grocery store we went to, and it's just. Yeah, I'm sure we'll talk about it.
I understand that it's a loss for words because I'm even though I grew up in the suburbs. So for those of you who don't know me, I was kind of giving some of my background, but I grew up in the suburbs. But I went to church on Jefferson and Best, Greater Refuge Temple, right there down the street, literally from that Tops. I used to go right in that same plaza with my father, working with him on the summertime. And we would go to the Chinese spot that was right next door and get us some wings on lunch and get us an orange crush and then back to work with my dad. So like this hits home for me. This East Buffalo is home for me. Like there is a certain part of it. I didn't live in East Buffalo. I didn't grow up there, but I spent a majority of my life. I was at church all of the time, running up to Big Basha on the corner, running up to the other corner store there on Jefferson and Best, sneaking out of church and running to get some candy, get some bags of chips. So like, the one thing that really is bothering me about this, General, is that this person decided that hate was worth it. And one of the things that really discourages me, and I want to have hope, and I choose to try to find that silver lining like you talk about, but sometimes the hate beats me down. And I'm being honest about that. Before we switch and transition into Buffalo Bills talk, the hate beats me down sometimes. I don't understand how somebody could physically get in a car, decide that he wants to take the time and the effort to come down 200 miles to Buffalo to spread hate. I think it's something that is really, really wrong with society. I think it's something that's really, really wrong with this country. I think that racism it's alive. And if you don't think it's alive, you're not trying to be a participant. You're actively keeping your head in the sand. And I'll say that again, if you're not a part of the solution, you're part of the problem. If you hear something in a conversation with your friends or people, co-workers or something like that, and you don't stand up and say, hey, you're not supposed to say some stuff like that, you're part of the problem. Now, I'm not trying to point fingers at people, but I'm just going to keep it real. The only way that we can have real change, the only way we can have effective change is by listening, man. It starts by listening to each other. Why was Colin Kaepernick so explosive? Why was he so polarizing? It was because of the fact that nobody wanted to talk about the fact of his message. Everybody wanted to talk about the fact that he was kneeling. Everybody wanted to talk about the fact that it was disrespectful, quote unquote, to the flag, even though he went to the military. If you go and fact check, he went to the military and asked the military veteran what was the most appropriate way to show, show respect, right, but but not showing disrespect. He still wanted to do his protest. And all I heard from people was, it's not the right platform and it's not the right place. But really, wasn't it? How many Americans watch football? How many eyes did he get on his cause because of that? How many people asked him about it because of that? So it kind of rubs me the wrong way, Justice. And I wanted you to just, wrap it up for me, man, because I do agree with you. I saw some pictures from this weekend about the rallies on Jefferson, and it did warm my heart. But I'm still hurt for those people, those 10 families that don't get their people back, that are not coming home.
Absolutely. It's at a point where when you think about it, it's like, if you do this, that there's no getting out of it. Like you don't go home. If you are in the mindset of someone who wants to go and spread that evil, you're not going back home. Your life is never going to be the same. So that means you literally gave your life to spread evil against folks who don't know who you are, who have no issue with you.
That's right.
You have so much venom and hate in your heart that you are literally like, my life doesn't mean anything. That's right. I'm going to go take these lives away from these people just so that these people can hurt as much as I hurt, but these people didn't hurt you.
That's right. That's right.
So that is really the scariest part about it, because we could sit here, me and you, we could talk about positivity. We could talk about coming together and being a part of a community. We could talk about acceptance. We could talk about integration, whatever. We could talk about whatever. But at the end of the day, there's going to be some kid who has the capacity to drive 200 miles to go to a supermarket in a low income neighborhood. Right. Exactly. With a targeted demo. Not only that, but I heard there was a story about he was at Tops the day previous.
I was just reading it on CNN, and they have confirmed he did come to scope out the Tops there back in March. And they got him on camera. I mean,
he had conversations with people. He had conversations with not just people, but people of this community. And there was one guy I mentioned that he bought him like a Gatorade, and they had like a 20. And
he asked a white woman in there why she was working in there. Asked a white woman back in March why she was working in there, as if it was bad that she was working in a black community. So his hate spread so much that it spread to his own race, his own people that look like him.
And that's the issue, right? One quote that I always love is, racism is not a black issue. Racism is a white issue.
That's right.
It's in this country specifically, the oppressor is the one with the issue, right?
That's right.
So people talk about they don't want to have these, uncomfortable conversations, but we need to have these conversations for you guys, because we're the ones under attack. We're the ones that don't feel safe. I get on the elevator and people look at me and they get off the elevator like, I'm not going to harm you. Like, I'm the one that should be concerned right now, with the way things are in this country. Preach. So it's really disappointing that, you see an entire community of people that are kicked while they're down, and then they're also made to look as if they're the dangerous, the dangerous community of art.
Absolutely.
You're taking the victims and you're blaming the victims literally, and until that changes, until there's some perspective, until there's some understanding, and then it's just gonna be more disconnect.
Yeah, it is. And I think that's one of the saddest things about it. We are going to transition, and I quite frankly, I'm not trying to alienate anybody, but this type of rhetoric or talk or truth, to be honest, is what I'm calling it, because it is the truth. If it offends you, then you don't have to listen, and you can come back next week, or when we won't be talking about this, if that's the case. But right now, I had to start the episode as a man, first of all, and as a man of color. I had to address it because of the fact that I would be ignorant if I didn't. This is my community. This is my home. Buffalo is my home. I live in Charlotte, but I'm Buffalo born and raised. So this affects me. I have somebody that wasn't a direct member of my family, but through in-laws, it was somebody, was the nice activist lady that was shot. I know her through my family, through the grapevine. Like that. It's sad. It's all sad, and hate doesn't do anything but hurt. And people that are hurt other people. And clearly this young man was hurt. But one thing as we transition, and do not forget it, to any listener that is still here, racism, for the most part, not all, for the most part, it's hereditary. And what do I mean by that? It is taught at the dinner table. It is taught in the car rides to school. It is taught as they travel around and they do their normal everyday business.
The way you see your parents and your grandparents interact with people of a different background, that it's taught that way. They see that and they learn that way and they think that that's okay.
Bingo. And until we break, and when I say we, I mean as a people, until we break the cycle, and it is a white community problem. I don't teach my children to hate other children because of the different.
We couldn't make it in this country. We couldn't make it in this country if we were just out here, literally up against the white people and
angry black man. Well,
exactly.
Don't they always like to play this as the angry black man? If I'm a black man and I'm strong and I'm confident and I speak with my voice and I'll shake your hand firm, then I'm a threat.
You're a threat
because I'm too. It brings you back to that Malcolm X thing where they couldn't even believe that he was even talking to the police officers that way. They couldn't believe that all these men were following him and following his order, that we weren't monkeys, that we weren't hooligans, that we weren't thugs, as they like to try to call us. Every black person you see is not somebody that you need to be afraid of. And I'm looking at the general right now with his hair braided and he's looking good and it's all fresh. And you see him on the elevator, like you said, though. You walk down the street and a white woman might walk across the street thinking that he's going to try to rob her. And that's sad. It really is sad. So I'm going to leave it at that for now. Please pray for the victims. Please pray for their families. The victims are gone. So hopefully, and it's just horrible.
If you don't mind, I just want to leave this topic on a quote that, maybe, and again, this isn't like an attack on, Caucasian, white or anything like that, right? This is really, it's more like, hey, like, can you guys like listen, understand, what our perspective is, where we're coming from. And I just want to leave on this quote from excuse me, from James Baldwin. And he says, to be black and conscious, to be a black and conscious man in America is to be in a constant state of rage. And you have to unpack that. To be black and conscious in America is to be in a constant state of rage. And when you take a look and you dissect it, if you're black in America, it's one thing, right? And there are people who accept it and people who just, go through the world and they, they do the day-to-day things and things like that. And they kind of just accept things for the way they are. But to be black and conscious, to be able to take a step back and look at the way things are, to be able to take a step back and see that doesn't make sense, right? To be black and conscious, and then you take a look at everything and you see everything around you. To be in a constant state of rage because none of this makes sense. None of it is fair. None of it is equal or it's
or just or right or how you just treat people. And I'll encourage it, and I appreciate that quote because it is the truth. And I'll leave you guys with this if you want to do homework for those that are really conscious and that do want to try to enact change. If you want to enact change, it starts with listening. Emmanuel Acho killed it after George Floyd, killed it. I used to sit down and watch every single episode of Uncomfortable Conversations with a Black Man, and then I would post them every single week. And one of those weeks he always talked about, he said, on your left, he was talking about a biker. And then he would say the etiquette, they would say on your left. That way he doesn't hit you and you don't run into him. On your left. And that's what the Black community has been saying for 400 years. On your left. We need you. We can't. Justus is right. We can't walk around angry black man and fighting everything, or we would be thrown in jail or killed. The stuff that happened at the Capitol, they would have shot us on the steps of the Cap. They would have shot us on the grass, on the lawn, had we even thought about a whole trove of black folks coming and storming the Capitol. So we'll leave that there. But just remember that we are asking for your help. We are not asking you to be perfect. We are not asking you to invite us into your homes and have dinner with us. We are asking you to respect us as people. We have the right to live and pursue happiness in this country the same way you do. And until we can all be okay with that, regardless of your skin color, We're going to have more George Floyds. We're going to have more Buffalo shootings. We're going to have more. It just keeps happening. You change the T-shirt, you change the slogan,